Click, click, play, review. We're reviewing Resident Evil 2. It rhymes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Click, Click, Play Reviews. Resident Evil 2, it's our first ever review, so there are the odd technical hitch. You know, if anybody's got any questions or, any advice in the chat, we will appreciate it. Or if you're listening to this on Spotify or wherever, feel free to let us know what's, what we can do better. This is the third time we've tried to start this podcast, and it seems to be working now. We got 30 minutes of review. Jordan is our resident Resident Evil expert. This game came out in 1998. I know that because I was told it a few minutes ago. And also joining us, Resident Evil noob, Mellom.
Yeah, that's me. I'm too scared for this game, so I can't play it.
Can you even watch streams?
Yeah, I really enjoy it because then the streamer is scared.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've scared me so many times playing these games. Resident Evil 7. So I came to Resident Evil 2 as never playing a single Resident Evil game apart from 7, and I loved 7. And I heard that I've heard so many people say great things about this that I had to play it, and yeah, I can see why. But Jordan, where do we start?
So I'll give a bit of a history in terms of where I'm coming from with it, because I'm a big fan of the original as well. So I had Resident Evil 2, the original version was one of the first games I had for the original PlayStation. I got it for a Christmas at one point, along with the console. I had the original Tomb Raider, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, and I think Tekken 2. Those are like my first PlayStation games. I was very young at that point. The content that you see in this new game is kind of similar to what you saw in the original, so you can imagine me as a kid playing through it, fighting zombies, making headshots, fighting lickers, that kind of stuff. The game was absolutely terrifying, really tense, and it's stuck with me until now. Like there's a reason why in this latest one you can change back to the original music, because I think it's just ingrained in so many people's brains who were kind of kids or teenagers in the 90s. So yeah, that's kind of my history with it. I've loved Resident Evil ever since then. I've pretty much played most of them. There's a lot of Resident Evil games, a lot of shit as well, but I've played most of the good ones. But Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 have a big place in my gaming heart.
I hear to get the best experience from Resident Evil, you need to watch the movies.
Yeah, the movies are absolutely key. My advice would be to don't play the games and just watch the movies. No, that's a lie.
So just turned off now. Gone, great. That's what I'm going to do first.
So like, I don't want to slag off the movies too much because they made a lot of them, which obviously isn't indicative of quality. But I think in the grand scheme of video game adaptations, they probably rank fairly high because they're competent films. I would just argue that they totally miss the soul of what the games are. They're just kind of action flicks, really. The first one is kind of based on the first game and has some similarities and borrows things from other games. But then I haven't even watched them all. But from what I've seen, it just, the characters will turn up with the same names, but that's about it. That's as far as the similarity goes. They're very much their own thing. So if you like those, happy days. But I don't think they're an essential part of being a Resident Evil fan.
You mentioned the music, and I've got to say one of the first things I did, because I got the pre-order, and I think it might come with all of them, all of the versions of this game, but I switched over to the old music, and I never played the original Resident Evil 2, so this is the first time for me to play this, and I preferred the old music. Like it's very minimalist, the new one, whereas the old one kind of just adds a bit more atmosphere. It's a lot more musical.
The first one, the first one, the kind of the new score uses a lot of kind of just emptiness in its music. So you'll just be walking along, and there's just no music at all, but there is a lot of ambient noise going on in the game, so it kind of works with that. Like I said, the original score is iconic. It's amazing, so it's great to have that option. And to be honest, I play with it. I don't know if you noticed, it also changes the sound effects. So like when you go into menus and stuff like that, it basically brings back the kind of classic noises from the original game. So for me, on a nostalgia trip, that's really, really cool. But I don't want to downplay the new score either. I think it might not be as in your face, and I don't think you'll go away kind of remembering any of the music, but it definitely helps to add to the kind of tension of the game. I think I would definitely recommend, if you're playing it through for the first time, play it with the original music, and then obviously after that, do what you want.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird they didn't just like make a upgraded version of the old ones.
Yeah, so the the new one has a lot of like if you listen to it. So for instance, when you first walk into the police station, there's a big hall, and that's kind of the hub for a lot of the game. And there's this really nice piece of like piano music that plays in the original. In the remake, you can barely hear any music, but if you listen really hard, you can hear that piano music kind of subtly in the background. So it does a lot of stuff like that. But I think it's important to remember that this game is very different to the original. In the original, you had lots of completely separate game areas that were separated by load screens. So, you'd have to go through a load screen, and then when you get into that new room, a new piece of music could start playing. In this one, most of the game is completely interconnected without any load screens. Well, it all is really, isn't it? So they basically have to have a score that kind of blends, and there's no kind of hard stops to the music. And you'll notice if you play with the original music, sometimes it's a little bit awkward because you'll walk from, you'll go from the police station to the car park, and the music is supposed to change, but it just kind of happens suddenly instead of blending together nicely. So, like I said, my recommendation would be to use the original music first of all, and then swap it over, especially if you've played the original games, because you'll want to hear that class music.
Is it the same like art director that made the original one that made the remake?
I don't think so. I think the director, I believe, of Resident Evil 2 has kind of moved on. He went to do like what's that? Evil Within, all of those type games, I believe. But yeah, I think this is a new team, and but the good news is you can kind of tell that that this is a team that definitely played that original game and definitely has a lot of love for it. There's so many subtle nods. I think the experience that you would have had, Ben, compared to me is just completely different. I guess we'll get into it during this review, but one of the amazing things that this game does is play with the perception of people that have played the original game. There's so many kind of rooms that are set up in a similar way, and you're expecting something to happen, and it doesn't. And then it happens a little bit later, or it'll happen on the second run of the game. So it's a game that's very conscious that you may well have played the original, and just plays around with that in really interesting ways, and little subtle nods to the player as well, which I really appreciate.
So what do you love about this game?
Like if you don't have when you change the director, you will always like lose those tiny subtle details that the original creator went for. So that's always a minus, but I guess if there's like really big fans, they did a good job.
It's such a loved game that I think it's probably been very very inspirational for I can imagine a lot of the team that are working on this were probably around about my age when the original came out. It's probably been a big impact on them, I would guess. So that there's a lot of little things that stick out that they can kind of play with in the game.
Right. So you love this game then, Jordan? Why do you love it? Tell me.
So Resident Evil is like in my top, probably Resident Evil 2 specifically, definitely my top 5 games of all time. Mm-hmm. I struggle with which I prefer, Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4. Completely different games, but both absolutely phenomenal. The reason that I love this remake, the highest praise I could have given this game would be that it replaces the original in terms of if I want to go and play Resident Evil 2, which one am I going to play? What would I instantly think of? Would I think of the PlayStation original, or am I going to think of the new PS4 game? I've played this game to death since it's come out. I'm still playing it. I've completed the different campaigns multiple times. I've got the platinum on it, my first ever platinum. This game, if someone said to me now, do you go and play Resident Evil 2, this is the game I would think of. This game has replaced the original Resident Evil 2 for me, which, like I said, is the highest praise I can give it. It's not absolutely perfect for me. There's a couple of things that I'm not completely over the moon about, but everything else is absolutely spot on. It's like I was fairly worried going into it. One, because Capcom has kind of got a spotty history in terms of stuff like this, and how much effort they put into remakes and remasters and all that kind of stuff, but they seem to be on a bit of a roll at the moment. It's always looked good every time that we've kind of seen previews of it. The Resident Evil engine is really strong at the moment, but when I was looking at previews, it seemed like maybe it was going to rely too much on the police station being totally dark and scary, whereas the original didn't have any of that. It relied on kind of organically building tension. So I was worried this one would be a bit too horror focused versus just trying to make the player feel tense and scared. But I think it totally nails it. There's basically nothing about this game I would change outside of a couple of small little details with characters. So for me, like I said, that's the highest praise that I could give something like this. And I think me going into it, I'm going to be pickier than anybody because it's one of my favorite games. And for me to come out of it being this impressed and this happy and this excited about them doing the same for Resident Evil 3.
Is it confirmed now?
It hasn't been officially confirmed, but the general thought is that it was already in pre-production, and obviously with the sales of this game, and the critical praise that it's got, you can pretty much guarantee it. And that it'll be such a quick one for them to do as well. Like they've got the engine there, they've got half of the game because a lot of 3 revolves around like the police station and stuff and the city, and they've got an engine which can have the nemesis happily kind of walking around stalking you. So yeah. So in terms of why I like it, it's completely reimagined that original, but kept the soul of the game. And like I said, there's just a lot of clever nods to original players, and he just plays really fucking well. Like one of the things that people will throw against the original Resident Evil games is the control scheme. This remake is one of the best controlling games I've ever played. I just love the feeling of motion, and I love the shooting in the game. So they've completely addressed that. And they just haven't stepped on my toes in any way. There's nothing about it where I'm like, oh, you're kind of messing with the way that I remember this game or the way that I feel about this game.
Von Bucky in the chat says, weird technical question. Did you play it on an HDR monitor? No. But John, did you?
I did.
And did it work?
I did, yeah. Yeah.
Because we both played it on PS4, which runs, PS4 Pro runs at 60 FPS. I don't know if it does on the base PS4, but yeah, on the PS4 Pro, 60 FPS, it looks stunning.
Base targets 30 and Pro targets.
Because it's a game that it doesn't need to be 60 FPS, but the fact that it is just makes it so easy like to look at when you're playing it, and it just I love a game that's 60 FPS since switching to PC.
So do you move your camera a lot?
Not too.
Yeah, then you need 60 FPS.
I'm looking at the video that
it's
I'm
nice
showing.
To have, but you don't really necessarily expect it on a console, and I feel like they've been kind of reserved a little bit with this game. Like as much as it's a fantastic looking game, obviously there's a lot of content there. You can get through a campaign pretty quickly, but the whole game is based around repeating it. There's essentially 4 different campaigns, and to unlock everything, you need to play them multiple times. But I don't get the sense from this game that they absolutely broke their back for 3 years trying to make it. It feels like maybe a AA game versus a AAA game.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think you said the same with Devil May Cry. So I kind of get the sense with Capcom, maybe they're thinking, actually, you know what? We don't need to be Rockstar. We don't need to, we don't need to pump out a game that took us 5 years to make, and everybody was working 12-hour shifts every day and only runs at 25 frames a second because we've gone for such a high visual fidelity. I think they really struck a good line between the game looking fantastic, but also not being of a scope, which means that the PlayStation is going to catch on fire trying to run it.
Yeah, no, something you don't need a AAA game, because some people think, it's either an indie or a AAA to get 10 out of 10s and stuff. Like, no, this runs really well, and we're going to be talking on the podcast later about Devil May Cry 5. We've lost Mellom, but we're you can tell that Capcom have made this game. It's got a kind of not a AAA. Because would you say Monster Hunter World feels like a AAA game? Because I don't.
That's an odd one because it's a game as a service, really. I would say the Monster Hunter World, from a development standpoint, is a lot more high effort than a Resident Evil 2.
Yeah,
I would argue. I think because that was their first stab at really getting back onto the console scene with it, so they really needed to impress. I would probably argue that yes, Monster Hunter World is. And actually, it's all arbitrary anyway, isn't it? But I would say that that is really kind of, and again, it goes to my point. Like that game runs like shit on consoles because it's trying to be this huge, deal.
I would say that Monster Hunter World though is, it's huge world. It's really detailed. There's lots of little things, but the accessibility for people is really low. Whereas this game is the total opposite. It's so user friendly. Like the fact that when you go into it, if you can't get through a door, there'll be a little thing that pops up. Oh, on your map, it'll show. I mean, the map is something we can probably talk about. If you can't get through a door, and you leave there, it will tell you on your map what you need to get in that door, I believe. Or is it just red for the start until you actually... No, I think if it tells you, if you know what you need to get through that door, it will say, like, there'll be a picture of the key or of whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
stone
I
you
think
need.
assuming that you've got the key that you need to open it, it'll put a little icon there to say, well, you need to use this. So yeah, the map is really cool in this. Like you had a similar looking map in the original, but in this one, like if there's an item left in a room or there's something still to investigate, the whole room will be marked red. So you never feel like, you never really feel like, shit, I need to examine every little corner of this police station because I might be missing something. You'll know if a room is empty or not, and it makes it quite systematic to kind of make your way through it. And just to kind of build on that point as well around like accessibility, what I really like about this game, Resident Evil 2 was kind of typical for the time, especially for kind of more hardcore horror type games. Not that there were many. Resident Evil was kind of a flagship, but it was very much, this is the game, and you'll play it this way. And if that's too hard or it's too scary, you can fuck off. It was very much its own thing, and there wasn't too much you could do to really change that. This game has got such a scope in terms of the experience that you can have. So I think probably me and you have gone the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Like you've played on assisted mode.
Oh yeah. Scary games, screw any difficulty when I'm playing a scary game. I'm just gonna play through that for the thrills.
And that has auto saves. You can save as many times as you want and that kind of stuff. The first time I played this game, and you played as Leon, I played as Claire. So I played as Claire my first playthrough. I played it on hardcore mode, and what that does is obviously just the standard kind of difficulty stuff in terms of enemies take longer to go down if you're trying to kill them. They take less damage, that kind of stuff. If you get hit, you can only get hit once or twice really, and you're pretty much fucked. But the big thing, the big kind of tension driver, is that you've got a finite amount of saves. So whereas you were using the typewriter to save, and you can just do that as much as you want, I've still got typewriters spread throughout the world, but I've also got an item, which is an ink ribbon, which is, you can find them about the place. You'll find like 2 ink ribbons. And each time you save, you need to use one of those ink ribbons. So I'm not sure how many there are actually in the world. I ended up on my first playthrough saving like 25 times, but I played for 14 hours.
Yeah. I think I did similar with 7 hours.
I pretty much used every ink ribbon that I found in the game. But it kind of really drives this tension in terms of, okay, so I've got this item. I know I need to get now over to the other end of the police station. I know that I'm being chased down by this fucking enemy, which we haven't talked about yet. We'll need to talk about kind of that. That's cool.
I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but it happens quite near the... Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, fuck it. It's all over the internet. If people don't know about that, I don't know what they're doing. But so like you'll be sat there thinking, okay, I need to do this run. I need to go down to this room. I haven't been there yet, so there's probably zombies. I could get ambushed. I need to take this ammo, this, that, and the other. Should I save? Because I've been playing for about an hour and I haven't saved. But actually, it'd be nice if I could do that run and then save, because I know I'll never need to do that again. It's that kind of thinking. Which so then when you run into a couple of zombies, it's a lot more tense because you're like, one, I don't want to die because it's just not nice. But 2, if I die, I've lost an hour of my life. It's that kind of thing. Yeah. And like I said, it took me 14 hours. I think that was in part because obviously I'm just a fanboy and I just can't believe my luck kind of exploring this world in this fidelity. But also because he was so fucking difficult. Like there was parts where I was just crawling around that police station. Just not wanting to get found, not wanting to get hurt, not wanting to shoot a bullet. I think that kind of leads nicely on to Tyrant or Mr. X, which you've probably seen loads of memes about if you haven't played the game yet.
So can I say, like, I've played this, I as you said, because John and I, we were just finishing it earlier and we went back to the police station and you were kind of a bit shocked at how every single zombie in there had been killed by me. There wasn't a single one roaming around. They'd all been annihilated. Because I like to be, when I play a horror game, I'm trying to make it as less frightening as possible. So when we were doing that, I was killing all the zombies. So pretty much there was nothing left. And I was like, okay, no zombies around. I can wander around at my own leisure and I can just go and do what I want. Then all of a sudden, boom, boom. And then like the way that what they do in this game, it adds fear, which I've never experienced in a game. Not all horror games or any game that's got some kind of horror element, I just like to clear out everything and just give myself, kill all the enemies. Then I've got all freedom to just reign around and, and do what I want. But yeah, you go and tell us about Tyrant.
Yeah, cool. So Tyrant is in the original game. He doesn't turn up until same with this one, same as with the original. Like I said, there's multiple kind of campaigns that you can play through. In the original one, he wouldn't turn up until you're kind of playing through for the second time. So you've gone through as Claire on the initial playthrough, and then you put in the other disc and you're playing as Leon, and you start on kind of the other side of the police station. And during that playthrough, there are just certain points where he'll turn up, like set pieces. But you can basically just run away from him, and they built on that with the third game of Nemesis, which was a little bit more persistent, but essentially it was just more set pieces. With this game, not even halfway through, really, kind of halfway through the first sections of the police station, where you spend like a third of the game, it introduces this enemy. He's just this big fucking guy in a trench coat and a hat, huge, just muscular unit of a guy that just looks unhuman.
Bit like me.
And he doesn't run; he will just walk after you. And for a certain segment of the game, he's persistent in the environment. And the way that it works is that if he's near you, you can hear his footsteps. If you make too much noise when he's near you, he will hone in on you. If you shoot your gun, or you make a really loud noise wherever he is, he'll start honing in on you as well.
Yeah, I realized that. I was running away from him, and he was just appearing really quickly, and I realized it's because I was running. And then if you walk, it doesn't.
Well, this is why I was surprised that you managed to clear out the police station, because there, for a lot of that he would have been hunting you, and if you're shooting zombies and lickers and stuff, he's going to be.
I think I killed everything before he arrived. And I found the one room in the whole area. Yeah, well, the thing is though, like, in these type of games, when there are horror things or there are monsters, you go to these safe rooms. Like in this game, there are safe areas where you can go and you can save it. But Tyrant doesn't. He just ignores that. He'll go. The most terrifying thing that I remember playing was in this game was, so Tyrant appeared. I ran into the main hall where there's a safety box to stash box really. There's a save point. And then the dude followed me in there. I was like, no, you're not supposed to follow me in here.
That's an example of what I talked about earlier in terms of playing with player expectation. Yeah. That whole hall, or at least the first level of it, is you never see an enemy.
Which is what you can see in the video right now. Yeah, he's in the hall.
Yeah. So it's for that place, and there's the music that plays, like that piano is quite a nice piece of music. You feel quite relaxed when you're in that main hall, and it's only when you go further into the police station you get attacked. So yeah, that's very much the game kind of playing with your expectations in terms of you kind of feel safe there, but actually you're not safe at all because Tyrant's going to get you. Obviously we know that zombies turn up there as well, and in the second run there's zombies there straight away.
Okay.
I noticed when I was watching a playthrough, there was some when he was walking, he starts with a pace, and after like 3 steps or something, the pace is just like a microsecond faster. So in your head, you're expecting a sound like a microsecond later, but it comes a bit too fast, so it takes you out of guard every step. So it's like it becomes just more scary. It was even scary just to watch.
He's just so well designed. I think when it comes to game of the year, you'll see a lot of people, I think, referring back to it because it's just so memorable, and it's just inspired so many memes and things on the internet, which has obviously probably done this game wonders in terms of sales. And like I said, that it's just set up so well now for the third one, because essentially by just using the same engine, some PC modders have already reskinned the Tyrant in this game to look exactly as you'd expect the Nemesis to look like. So it's basically already there for them.
They're going to say Thomas the Tank Engine then.
Yeah.
So you've also got him.
What they'll need to do with that is just find, like I said, I've got a couple of grumbles about the game. One of the things is just the logic of how zombies and Tyrant can't come into like save rooms, for instance. So that, like, they're supposed to be safe rooms, like you're not supposed to get attacked there, but it doesn't make sense in terms of the fact that Tyrant hunts you down. Like, you'll literally be hunting you until you get to the door, you walk through it, and then he just hangs around outside. That's a little immersion break-in for me. And the fact that in this game zombies can break doors down because there's no load areas, I think they probably need to work out a better way now of not just having rooms where for a magical reason enemies don't attack it. I think realistically those rooms should be in play. And I wonder if PC modders have modded that, because I'm guessing that's pretty easy to do, just to have zombies and Tyrant kind of make their way into those rooms where you think you should be safe.
I have very, very few complaints, and it's not really even particularly a complaint. I just find, if this is my only complaint, it's is crazy. The fact that when you go near a zombie, the reach is huge. I find for it, you can be like the other side of a, you know, of a like a corridor, and they'll just reach out, and there's no way to kind of dodge it. So you just have to take it and then use your knife or grenade or whatever to, you know, to make them back off. But I just,
it definitely feels like they
that...
could. Definitely feels like they could tone that down a little bit. There's some RNG kind of happening. Like sometimes zombies will jump for you, sometimes they won't. But yeah, sometimes it does feel like, oh god, like that. I feel like I should have got away from that.
Yeah.
I didn't. Like a lot of the enemy grabs, it kind of goes into a cinematic. So I think the thing is, the game is kind of working out, okay, shall I trigger that cinematic or not?
Yeah.
And sometimes, yeah, it doesn't quite nail that. So yeah, I probably agree with it. My other couple of grumbles, and this only comes from you definitely wouldn't have picked up on this because you haven't played the other one, but for me, enemy variety, there's a few like questionable absences in this game. Obviously they absolutely nailed the zombies, the best zombies in any game ever. I think they're absolutely incredible. That, you know, that every single limb can come off, you can shoot it off, knife it off, the zombie will just carry on. It's amazing. I think they're genuinely scary. Like you said, you know, they're pretty difficult as well, sometimes too difficult, I guess, but they're definitely a challenge. They don't feel like the fodder that they are in a lot of games, but I do wish there was a bit more variety, like you've seen with us just finishing the game. In the original, when you get to the lab, you have like actual plants that you're fighting. In this one, they're just kind of more zombies, but with kind of a plant skin on them. They do a different kind of grab move, but still, you know, it's still basically a guy. I think a lot of it is because they're trying to ground the game a little bit, but they managed to get the crocodile in there. So it's like, if you put the crocodile in there, surely you could have had, you know, crows, for instance. Like crows are iconic when it comes to Resident Evil. They're in the first game, they're in the second game. No crows in this.
No.
And there's a moth boss in the first one, which they kind of allude to in the labs. You see some moths flying around in a blocked door. So I think they're kind of suggesting that, you know, that door would have been where that moth monster is, but you don't fight it. And I just thought that would have been quite nice to kind of extend the game a little bit and just kind of break it up. You know, you got lickers, you got zombies, you got those weird sewer things. Spiders are in the original. I was really hoping spiders would be in this because the game looks so good. That would have been fucking terrible. Like, even for me, I hate spiders.
Yeah.
I would love to see, I'm sure we'll get it with maybe, you know, Resident Evil 3 remake. I would love to see how they handle that. So in the original, when you go down to the sewers, there's a couple of rooms where they look like tarantulas, and they're just like man-sized, and they're just waiting on the wall, and they creep around and shit. I would have just loved to have seen how they would have rendered those, and
I wouldn't.
People just freaking out, you know, people with arachnophobia would not have played it.
Yeah.
I had someone tweeted at me asking, are the spiders in the game? And they were legitimately saying, if they are, I won't be able to play it. So luckily I was able to tell them, no, it's not.
Any questions, Mellom?
Yeah, I have, because from what I have seen, the story is like, because this was made in the 90s, so you can compare it with like the movies in the 80s, like cheesy wise and everything.
Yeah.
And the dialogue and screenplays seems like really cheesy and stuff, but it's all good. It's still many games that are made that are really cheesy and stuff. But does it sometimes feel like, do you have to think like when you go through the story where, okay, this is an old game, so, and that's okay, or do you think like this is a game that could have been made today?
So the script is completely different, and it's definitely worth emphasizing at this point. This isn't a remaster. This game is completely different to the original. The only similarities are the high-level story. The fact that, you know, Leon's a cop, Claire is looking for her brother. They both go to Raccoon City. It's zombie infested. Everything else is completely redesigned. So that goes for the script as well. So it's completely different. Actually, some of the character portrayals are completely different. And one of my other complaints, the police chief that you haven't seen, Ben, because he's only in the Claire campaign.
Okay.
He's a fucked up character. He's a taxidermist. So when you go into his office, like, he's got like a tiger that's stuffed and just loads of animals stuffed and things. And you find notes, and he's basically like talking about hunting, and then it takes a weird turn, and it basically reads like he's hunting a person, and then eventually you find out that he's hunted the mayor's daughter. and he's basically killed her and he's going to stuff her. His portrayal in the original was really creepy because he tries to come across as actually this nice police chief, and it's only later down the line you find out and he does seem sinister, but it's not outright. In this one, he's got all those same. It goes to the same thing in terms of he's a fucked up guy and stuff. But as soon as the first cutscene that you see him, he's like he just pulls his gun out and he's like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna shoot you," and you just don't have that build up. But yeah, just go back to Mellom's point. Like this, the dialogue is way better than the original Resident Evils. Like they're known for having some terrible lines that to the point where like there's achievements in this game that Master of Unlocking, for instance, that you got today, Ben. That's a line from the original Resident Evil where if you play as Jill, another character that she's with, Barry, when you start off, one of Jill's abilities is that she has a lockpick, and Barry says to her, make sure you take this lockpick tool or whatever it is that she uses, because everybody knows you're the master of unlocking. And he just says that to her like really weirdly, and then she nearly gets crushed in this other scene, and he saves her, and he says, "Oh, you were nearly a Jill sandwich." So just weird, shitty kind of lines like that, which people have laughed at for like 20 years. I don't think it's got anything like that. I don't know what you think, Ben, with a fresh pair of eyes. I thought the dialogue and the writing was pretty good, actually.
I've just been playing Devil May Cry 5, so I'm used to really bad writing. Or really bad, cheesy lines. But no, I didn't find any problem. If this game came out and said, okay, this is for me, and said, hey, this is Resident Evil 8, it feels so traditional that, it does feel a bit out of it these days. Like this type of game, I've not seen any like this before, especially with such limited combat. I think if this game was made now, they would want to expand on the combat. They'd want to have maybe dodges in there or different attacks, different abilities, because that tends to be what people are obsessed with nowadays when it comes to horror games. Get some dodging and some rolling and maybe some melee weapons and that. But because it's just pretty much, I don't know how many extra guns that I've missed, but there were, for the majority of the game, you've got kind of two weapons, a shotgun, a pistol, and then you've got a knife that you can use. Actually, you can use like the melee attack on it, but it's really kind of, you want to slash at the legs or it's going to just ruin it. So
it breaks eventually as well.
Yeah. So it definitely feels like an older game, but not in any bad way. It just feels like a classic. It feels like a classic that's remastered, which is what it is.
It's a survival horror game versus an action game. I just think, I don't think there's anything necessary. The only reason why the gameplay feels old in a way is because people just don't make these anymore. Like, there's no reason why. This is the blueprint, I think, for how you can do this. Like, I think the closest thing that we've had in recent times, it was Dead Space. And like you said, Dead Space escalates. The combat does go places. It doesn't just rely on the same kind of loop in the same way that Resident Evil 2 can. And I think a lot of the reason why this game succeeds is because it doesn't need to do that. Just because those zombies are so fucking good and they're so fun to fight. And, shoot their leg off and pop their head and that kind of stuff. It just feels really great.
Yeah. And there's nice change in tone, change in pace, because you start off obviously in the police station, which I spent the vast majority of my time there. The rest of it I kind of whizzed through, but I love how there is a big change in where you are. Like later you go into the sewers, and then later in a lab. I'm not going to say much more, but it's such a change of scenery in each area, but it still has the same. You want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I think they deserve massive props for the design of that police station. It's almost it almost goes to like Metroidvania type levels.
It is a maze, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fucking incredible. Like it borrows the aesthetic of the original, but like that was just never that dense, and it was you had keys and stuff. But this is just there's so many options in terms of the direction that you can go. The first time that you're playing it, you're just totally overwhelmed in terms of what shall I do? Like, should I board this window up? Should I go upstairs? There's a safe over in that room, but there's two zombies kind of on the floor. They'll probably wake up. There's just so many options how you can do it. And Resident Evil has always come hand in hand with the speedrun community. Like even the even the original games are still frequently sped run and the records kind of altered now. And this game is completely set up around that. You know, if you pause it, there's a timer there straight away showing how long you're actually playing through. When you finish the game, you'll get a grade along with the amount of time that you spent and saves and that kind of stuff. There's a massive speedrun community around this, and they've definitely lent into it.
Isn't there an achievement to finish it in fewer than 10,000 steps?
It's 14,000.
14,000 steps.
I finished it in 13,600.
Oh, that's close.
Oh wow!
Is there a way to check it, or was it just?
Yes. So if you pause the game and go to records, there's a whole list of basically achievements there. And if you go to the one that represents that achievement, it'll say current. So basically wherever your current load is, it'll say, okay, you're on 500 steps or whatever else. I dread to think how many steps. Like I said, I spent 14 hours on the original one, just being completely forensic and making sure I cleared every single room. And, you know, like I said, I was terrified at points as well, especially when Mr. X turns up. So I dread to think how many steps that was, but in terms of redoing it, it wasn't too bad actually. I think I did a couple of records in one run. So there's one where you can't use any healing items. There's one where you can't use, the one I was really dreading was not use the inventory box, because that's just like, that just seems like crazy to me, but it's not actually. And it shows how well designed the game is to make you feel that you need that. But actually, if you're not picking up health items and you're avoiding, you know, you're trying not to use any ammo, do you really need that box? Probably not. So that was easier than I thought it would be. But, you know, just the replayability in the game is fantastic. If you really enjoy it and you want to get, you know, those added extras, if you complete the game, I forget exactly what you need to do, but by completing the game, I think getting an S rank maybe, you'll get an infinite handgun. And also there's collectibles. Have you seen those little dancing raccoon things?
Yeah, I shot a few of them.
If you get 15 of those, which is all of them, you get an infinite knife as well. So I've currently got an infinite handgun and an infinite knife, which obviously completely changes the game then. So I, as somebody that wants to spend a lot of time in this game, for me that's great, because I can basically just whop out this infinite handgun, shoot any zombies that I want to, kind of play around with the engine and that kind of stuff.
Nice. All right. Well, any other questions? This is an interesting one from Alan. I think I might be able to answer this as well. As a person who really hates jump scares and being scared, I can side with you there. Would you think this game is suitable for people like me? Because looking at the game, this is a game I would 100% enjoy. I love the story and the concept of the game. Alan, it sounds like you're identical to me, and yeah, I loved it for the game, for the gameplay, the puzzle solving and stuff. It's a game that makes you think, which I really, really enjoy. And the stories, yeah, it's not too complicated, but it's really deep, and you can pick up things. And there's also like loads of notes and stuff left out that gives lots of backstory. So it's a really fascinating and fun game. The jump scares aren't all the time. Like you can go an hour or so without having a jump scare.
I'd say more than I can only think of a couple of outright jump scares. Like sometimes the game will organically do it, like if you didn't realize a zombie was creeping up on you or something. But in terms of the game really setting you up, the only one I can think of is when there's a particular locker that you open and a dead body falls out.
In fact, it's on the clip on the video. In fact, it might be right now actually. I think this second. Yeah, here we go on the video. Oh no, it's another video, but it's
okay. That's the right room though. So
how deep is the story? Isn't it kind of like superficial?
Well, the story.
Yeah.
I
don't say it in a bad way, but yeah, it isn't like a deep lore story.
There's deep Resident Evil lore. There's not a lot of it in this game, because obviously this is quite an early one, and the lore's span off since then. So it's for me, I can't be objective with that stuff. I'm coming into it, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, I know that this is hinting at this and wherever else. But to be fair, this game does a good job of not caring about that stuff. I don't even know if it does it even mention anything about the first game at any point? Like the mansion, it must mention it at some point, surely. But like it doesn't really fuck with any of the rest of it. So whether that signals that they see in this as a bit of a reboot, I'm not sure. But obviously there's a lot of Resident Evil lore. In terms of this game, they keep it really straightforward, which it should. You know, it's basically, obviously depending on which character you play as. If you're playing as Leon, first day on the job, he was basically delayed. The chief of the police station didn't want anybody come in to help, so he said, "Can you stay away for a couple of weeks and start late?" He eventually, gets frustrated and drives to the city. The city's already fucked. He needs to escape. That's pretty much it. You do learn why the city's fucked. That that kind of stuff. But it's all via notes. If you're not the type of person that's going to go find and read the notes,
What's the name of the bad company?
Umbrella.
Yeah.
So basically, umbrellas.
So it's an umbrella company.
Indeed. Yeah. So they've basically got a lab underneath. They kind of own Raccoon City, essentially. They've just kind of they've invested into it, into the point where most people are employed by them. They've got the police in their pocket, the mayor, all that kind of stuff. And the reason they've done that is because they've got a massive underground laboratory under the city, which is developing the virus, which ends up getting out and fucking up the city. So there's all that stuff in there. But yeah, it's pretty light. It's pretty straightforward. If you don't know anything about Resident Evil, you'll have no problems with this.
No, yeah, I didn't know much. Resident Evil 7 doesn't really have anything until right at the end.
Yeah, that's a complete spin-off in terms of the story. There's very little connection there.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, are there any other things you want to talk about with this, Jordan?
I think that pretty much covers it. I just kind of want to emphasize that there seems to be a lot of misconceptions about a couple of things with this game. First of all, in terms of like people seem to think that it's a like-for-like remake. It isn't. This is a completely different game in a similar vein to the way they remade the first one, but even more so because the first one, like when they did that remake for the first one, which is obviously looks amazing, is an incredible remake. That still played the same. It was still set camera angles, tank controls, all that kind of stuff. This obviously is a completely different playing game. But I do want to emphasize that if you've played the original, this isn't the dialogue's completely different. The puzzles you do are completely different. So like I said, some of the characterization is different, that kind of stuff. And just in terms of how the game is kind of separated, so you've basically got one campaign, and they spin that off in 4 directions. So you can play the one campaign as Claire or Leon. The only difference really is that there's a side character that you'll meet. With Leon, it's Ada. With Claire, it's Sherry, and each of those have got their own little sections like halfway through the game. Everything else is pretty similar. The last boss changes depending on who you're playing as. By finishing that scenario, you unlock Second Run, which again is basically the same campaign, but remixed, slightly harder, and you come at it at the start from a different direction. But then everything else is pretty similar. So yeah, you can put a lot of time into it, but the content is kind of recycled.
What would you play? So I've only played through one playthrough. Went through was Leon, saw credits that went back to the start screen. What would you recommend I do now if I were to play it again? Which maybe, because I'll probably start it again when I do the Game of the Year stuff, because I can see this being in my top 10.
If you were gonna play through again, I would recommend doing Clear Second Run, because then you'll see the proper ending. So you'll, like you saw after the credits, there's basically the monster's still alive. You haven't killed it, and there's one more fight that you need to have on the train, and then you'll see there's an extra cinematic, so you'll see them leave the city basically, okay. And there's a bit of dialogue between the people who are still alive. So yeah, that would be what I would recommend, but it is a little bit more difficult. But obviously, unassisted, it should be okay.
Do you have any other questions, Mellom? You having a smoke?
I don't think so.
No. Are you actually going to play it, Mellom, or is it just not your?
It's not my thing. If I'm gonna play it, it's gonna be like speed running, because I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Wrapping up, John, any final overall? What would you say? The overall paragraph?
I think that this remake was better than I'd ever imagined it would be. And I was hoping it would be good. And I had a good feeling about it just due to the way they were rolling it out. And when we got our first look at it, it obviously looked like it was a quality product. But like I said, I was always going to be sensitive to any things that they got wrong with this. And for me, like I said, there's just only a couple of minor grumbles, and that's just the lack of enemy diversity, which is made up for by the fact that the zombies are so fucking good, and just a couple of the characterizations are a little bit off for me. But outside of that, I think it's almost perfect. If I was doing like a formal review, this would be a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, somebody, just hold that a second, Jordan. You beat the gun. But I would, yeah, for me, if somebody said, "Hey, I want to play a horror game," what horror game would you recommend? I'd say this. Like, there wouldn't be another one. I mean, Resident Evil 7 is great as well. I love that one. Silent Hill, bring back. They should do this treatment to Silent Hill. I'd love that. When it comes
I've
to
heard that a few times, but I just think it'd be very, very difficult to do this with Silent Hill because that game was never about like what the major thing they did with this one was keep the tone, keep the atmosphere, but make the gameplay feel great. The gameplay is not supposed to feel great in Silent Hill, really. Like that was never the point. It's very like that second game, especially the story is fucking amazing. It's a piece of art, and I just don't know whether you can. I just don't know how successful they would be, and it wouldn't happen because it's fucking shit ass Konami anyway. But I put it this way: you couldn't do it this way. You couldn't just say, right, we're going to make it a really good shooter because Silent Hill was never a shooter. You're supposed to feel powerless. You're supposed to fucking try to hit things with crowbars and not make kind of fighting monsters systematic. You're supposed to run away. It could be done. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think this is the route for it.
Kaino says Silent Hill is all about the atmosphere and writing. I don't think they can pull it off now. No, but maybe a sequel. Well, that's what they were planning on, wouldn't it? I think I'd prefer then a whole new sequel to it, or maybe even just like restart the series. But unless
obviously Kojima was working on it. That's the tragedy. Kojima was actually working on Silent Hills.
Was that a sequel or was that like a reboot of the series?
We don't know.
No, we don't know for starters. But I would the core Silent Hills. Like the whole point of Silent Hill is that it's supposed to be a personal hell or personal kind of reflection of the person that's gone there. It's a metaphysical space. It's different for everybody. So you could make infinite games and not necessarily link them all together. So I would imagine what Silent Hills was going to be is just a fucked up horror game that's called Silent Hill with some references to the other games, but you don't necessarily need to have that much connecting tissue. Obviously, we'll never see that now. But I would like to see just a game called Silent Hill, which is kind of a similar tone to the first two games or the first three games. Actually, they're all pretty decent.
Those were fucking scary.
Yeah. Just horrible. Horrible. Like with I've never finished a Silent Hill game. I can't. It's not the scariness of it. It's the depressing. It's oppressive and depressing. And with
hours.
With Resident Evil, you had now and again someone would throw out a stupid line of dialogue and it would kind of lighten the mood a little bit, or you'd get a fucking grenade launcher and get to kill a few things and you'd feel empowered for a bit. Silent Hill doesn't have any of that. Like he's like, especially the second one. I don't know if you guys have played it or if you've ever read it. Fucking read the story of that second game. Fucking horrible.
Isn't that the one euthanasia? Isn't the movie based on the second?
They borrow some elements, yeah.
Okay.
So like, in short, that game, this is a fucking PlayStation 2 game, and it's about a guy whose wife was terminally ill, and it's vague as to whether he euthanized her in hospital, and a lot of the game is about his sexual repression because he wasn't sexually attracted to her anymore when she was ill. Like that's what that fucking game is about.
Wow.
So and Pyramid Head, that big knife thing, is a physical manifestation of his sexual aggression. And a woman turns up that looks exactly like his wife, but is dressed really provocatively, and that's how he wanted his wife to look, but instead she was sick in bed because she had a terminal illness.
Kind of want to play it now.
So that should give you an understanding of why this isn't the road to go for Silent Hill.
Yeah. Although do it. That's the type of thing that Kojima
sounds
I
great.
can see. Yeah. Maybe we just need Sony or someone to buy the rights for Silent Hill.
The music of Silent Hill as well. Like just go and listen to the scores from the first three games. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal pieces of music.
Okay, so we're finishing
this is a Resident Evil.
So we're finishing this review talking about how great Silent Hill is. There's some good horror games. Not there's some very bad ones, but there are some. But yeah, Silent Hill is definitely in the Resident Evil category for me.
They are adjacent though. Like Silent Hill was very much inspired by Resident Evil. It's it is a survival horror game. So they definitely kind of grew up together. But yeah, I think Resident Evil has managed to pull up. There's some disastrous Resident Evil games. 6 particularly is bad. And there's a lot of spin-off
5 is
ones.
bad, but I loved it because I play co-op.
5 is okay. It's just not as good as 4. But yeah, Silent Hill just hasn't recovered, and obviously Konami is behind it as well, so that you're probably not going to see it recover. But I'm just so happy to kind of finish things off that Resident Evil is probably in the best state it's ever been in now. And I'm pretty pretty sure you're going to see Resident Evil 3 within the next 18 months, and then just imagine what Resident Evil 8 will be. So happy fucking days.
Would you prefer Resident Evil 8 to be like this or like 7 or what?
Absolutely not like 7.
I liked 7, but I can't imagine them doing it again for another few.
What's better, Ben? Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 7?
Resident Evil 7 was in VR, so that gets my vote. Now, when it comes to, I like them both a lot, and I think I like Resident Evil games, which I didn't realize until I played the 7.
What's objectively the better game? Do you think?
That's
not a loaded question. I actually want to know what you.
What I think is there's no way of saying objective. Like for me, when this, if it was which game do I want to play? Someone said, "Hey, would you rather play Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 7?"
Yep.
I would say I'd say 2.
Yeah.
But they're both very good games.
I think if you're a person that would love Metal Gear games and have like an imagination that you can go a little fantasy, then you're gonna love 2 more than 7.
Yeah, I think that 7 is great. It goes a bit weird and stuff.
I've never felt the need to replay through 7. I enjoyed it as like a horror experience. It feels a bit weird to me just because it just feels like such a side thing, but it's a numbered Resident Evil game. It just doesn't really sit right with me. But yeah, I don't feel like I want to replay it. Whereas this game, I just haven't stopped playing basically in a month and a half.
Okay, so you think 8's going to be like this?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So.
With maybe a bit
the
more
success of this, I think it'll be like this, but probably just like I said, bigger scope. That will be the AAA game that they release.
And in a really wonder what kind of place they would do it in.
I don't know. I've always wanted to reboot the entire thing. Kind of can't do that now, I guess, because you got this.
Yeah.
But maybe this is the reboot. You know, you could maybe they'll just have 3 next, and then kind of continue the story from there. It would be good to get. Like they've not said anything in terms of if the lore has been reset or not, and which one of the games is kind of the canon version of events, because there are differences in terms of the story. So which one is now canon? So the way I would like to see them go is to do 3 next, and then maybe do Resident Evil 8, but have it continue on from 3. So Raccoon City has been destroyed. I don't know. It's just difficult because I think the story needs a reset, but then. How do you do that without getting rid of games like Resident Evil 4? Which to be fair, the lore isn't. Again, I've heard this a lot since this game's come out. I don't think you don't need to remake Resident Evil 4. It still plays fucking amazing. And I don't think anybody would like that game. The story is nothing in that game. Don't worry about that. Again, it's a complete spin-off. You play as Leon, and he's doing something completely different, and it's not even zombies. It's the gameplay in that one. So you're going to need to, if you're going to remake that game, that I don't know who would want to remake that game, because what you're taking on board is trying to better one of the best games of all time, and it isn't good because of the story. It's good because of how well it plays. So I just don't see anybody wanting to do that, and I don't think there's a reason to either.
No. Okay, Mellom's keyboard there battering away. Thank you, Mellom, for that. Sorry to anyone listening on Spotify. Okay.
He's turned into Big Boss as well.
He has turned into Big Boss. What did Jordan's wife call it? Look like a twat, was it?
Who fucking knows what she says.
All right, well, we're going to be finishing this review podcast. We're going to have the normal podcast in a few hours. But before we do that, we need a final score. Doo-doo-doo-doo. So out of
3,
Mellom gives 3, I give 4. Jordan?
This is out of 2, yeah? Like I said, for me, it's like in my heart, it's a 10 out of 10. It's a Jordan 10 out of 10 because it's perfect for me. But like I said, if I was doing a formal objective review, I would give this
There's
a 9.
no such thing.
There is, and I would do it, and I'd be right. I would give it a 9.
Yeah, you give it a 9. I would. I'd have given it like an 8.5. So kind of 9. 9 is good because we don't do halves. Yeah, I think 9 is. I was expecting this to be a 9 at the end of this, and talking about it makes me think. Yeah, it's a 9. Mellom, do you agree with a 9?
Sounds good.
I haven't played it, but from what you've seen,
I can't say anything. It's
Objectively,
your
a 9 out
vote.
of 10.
No, I can't say anything. That will make our review ruined if I gave it
Yeah.
anything.
he doesn't like this type of game, so it's a 0. So an average of 6. Okay, but yeah, so Resident Evil 2 gets a 9 out of 10.
Woohoo!
Ooh, what's our next review going to be? Devil May Cry 5?
Metal Gear.
The
The whole
Division.
saga.
Division 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we was in the chat they were talking about having a Metal Gear cast. I think maybe we could do one once.
Sekiro is out soon.
Yeah, you think I'm going to finish that?
No.
I want to do
can't
a
even
review
farm.
on Kingdom Hearts.
Oof. Well, you find someone
Well,
that wants to
that's
talk
the
about
end of
it. Yeah.
Just give
Andre,
me 10
Andre,
minutes. You guys can go and I can talk about Kingdom Hearts for 20
talked
minutes.
enough about that game.
You're not giving us that.
It'll
You're
be-
not giving the first
Have
10
you
out of
noticed
10.
like that game just kind of come and went? Like, it doesn't seem like anybody's fucking talking about that anymore. Think
No.
how long we waited for that.
Everybody knew that. It's
A
a
waste of
fan.
time.
It's a fan. What's the word? Fan.
Fan service.
Yeah, fan service.
A bit like
game.
Resident Evil 2.
So, and that's just what happens.
A bit like this game, yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
That's,
you
that's
guys.
why we're reviewing it a month and a half after release.
Yeah, took me a month and a half to bother finishing it. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see you, you guys for the podcast very soon. I'm gonna go and play some wrestling, and yeah, should we do it in let's say 3 hours?
Sounds good.
I'm very tired, so I might not make it, but I will text you and let you know.
What? Well, we
You
could
casted me out.
we could do it in no, we'll do it. We can do it in 2.5 hours. 8:30. That's 9:30. Theresa May time.
I'll let you know if I've got anything to say.
We'll see. The proper podcast in 3 hours, Alan. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.